Thank you for joining us on You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Scarborough, and I have as my guest today Carla Fagg. Carla is the principal at Hope Academy, and we're so glad to have you today, Carla. Let's just start by telling everybody something about your background and how you got interested in being the principal at Hope Academy.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me on You Make the Difference.
Yes.
I'm very pleased to be here and to represent Hope Academy. My background starts with speech and language pathology, actually. Working with students who needed speech correction or language, help with their language problems, disorders, and I did that for several years. And from there, got interested in school counseling. And did that for several years, or actually, not actually school counseling, but working with students that had significant emotional, behavioral problems, working with their parents and collaborating with community agencies to get them all of the services that they need to make progress. And I did that for about 10 years. And that's really how I fell in love with working with a student that was what I call an alternative learner.
Yes.
That person who might need assistance or a little help in making connections with other people. In speech, of course, those children have communication problems, and we would work with making a bridge to help with communication. And a lot of times that's where behavior starts, is when we don't have a good way to communicate our needs or our wants.
Yes. And
we end up maybe acting out to get our needs or wants. So that's where my interest started. Is working those years with those students. So I'm very happy, excited, and honored actually to serve as the principal at Hope Academy and helping our students to make some transformations so that when they go back to their schools, their assigned schools, their zone schools, that they will be making good decisions for themselves.
Yes.
And being able to stay there and move through their grade levels, or if they're in high school, to reach graduation and further their career opportunities, either through careers or college or technical school.
Yes,
or
and
the
Hope
military.
Academy is so important in our community, isn't it, to offer that service. And I was in a meeting today, and Hope Academy came up. Somebody asked me who I'd be interviewing today, and I said Carla Fagg. She's the principal of Hope Academy, and they said, I hear real good things about Hope Academy. So I just want to pass that on to you to let you know that in the community, the school is respected, and we appreciate what you do there. I want to just ask you a little bit about your staff.
Thank you. Well, we have 9 certified teachers on staff, 2 paraprofessionals. We have a counselor and a resource specialist there. We have a secretary and a custodian, instructional specialist, and all of those people work together. And our lunch staff, our lunch is brought in, but that staff person is a part of our staff, and they make everything work to help our young people get everything that they need to be successful and excel as they move forward. So we are just proud to have such a dedicated and committed staff. All of the staff members are highly qualified to serve our students, to make sure that their academic needs are met. And that's very important, that while students are placed with us, that they keep on track. And sometimes they need help getting back on track.
Yes.
And then staying on track, so that when they get back to their zone schools, that they are not having the academic problems, because a lot of times that's what will happen if a student gets behind academically. They sort of just get discouraged, and sometimes start to make the wrong decisions, or maybe have the wrong connections, and they just get a little bit distracted. So that's our hope. That's our goal at Hope, is to get them back on track, especially academically.
Yes.
That's what we're all here to do, is to learn, and that's one of the main things that we focus on, is to getting them back on track academically, so that they can continue to excel when they move back to their schools.
That's great. And I remember I guess it was a month ago, you had a breakfast, and I attended.
Yes.
And got to see Hope Academy and go into the classrooms and even talk to the teachers. And one of the things that I was impressed about is like the teacher was so excited about what she does at Hope Academy, and the computers were set up and the students work at their computers and I guess at their individual pace.
Yes.
And she helps them through those things, and if a student is really interested in a subject, I mean there are lots of opportunities for that student to explore that subject while they're there.
That's exactly right.
And the credit recovery.
Yes.
I was impressed with that you know the students can work at their individual pace to recover the credits that they've lost.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That gives them hope that they can get back on track. What you're speaking of is E2020, and that's one of the programs that we use in our high school program. And students can use that to take classes because, of course, like I said, we only have 9 teachers, and we don't have enough to teach every elective in every class. But E2020 provides us with that access through online programming so that they can take elective classes and a lot of other classes that we wouldn't normally be able to offer. But the program has a professor online or a teacher that teaches through the lessons and content information that they have to read through, listen to the lectures, and if they have questions or problems, there's a teacher in that class that they can get help from, raise their hand and get help in understanding. And they are able to work at their own pace.
Yes.
And they're able to actually work, this is something that we've really been encouraging the students to do if they really want that extra time, is to eat their breakfast and come down and work in the lab or work during lunch, you know, sort of lunch and learn.
Yes.
And do that so that they do have the extra time to catch up on those
and
classes.
some of them do that, don't
yes,
they?
They do. We have several students that are doing that.
Yes, and I know also I've mentored a few students at Hope Academy, three girls.
Okay.
And each of them really said that they appreciate the one-on-one, the time that the teacher can give to them for some individual support, and they appreciate that they get to work on their subject from their level, and their math scores improved. You know, some of their testing, they were proud of their scores, and so I know that they were better prepared to go back into
Yes.
their home school or their zone school when they left there.
Right. That's what we want to do, is encourage our kids, our students, to be engaged in their own learning, to be engaged in their own goal setting for things that they want to do. That's one of the first things that we do when we bring students in, when students are assigned to us. We have an orientation session. That's the first thing that happens, and the parents are there with them, and we talk about pretty much the protocol of things and the rules and regulations. But the next step that we've added this year is the Transformation 101.
Yes.
And that is a class where we meet with the students, it may be 2 or 3 students at a time, and we begin to, the first thing that we do is we ask them, what are your goals? What is it that you want to do? Because if they have ownership of that, then they're going to work with you. It's not what we want. Of course, we want them to excel
Yes.
and go back to their schools, but you have to take ownership of that yourself. So sometimes they haven't really thought about it. But we give them time. It's their time before they move into their classes and really get into their academic work for us to make that connection and start to build a foundational bond about being in an educational partnership, because that's very important. Some students feel disenfranchised and they feel like it's about somebody else, but it's really about them.
Yes.
So that's the time that we start to build that foundation and say, you know, what is it that you want to do? And they may take a minute, but they come up with things that they are interested in, and say, okay, well, if that's what you're interested in, this is a route that we can go, and we begin to make a plan together on how that's going to go. And part of the plan is having good decision-making skills.
Yes.
And when you're presented, because they are adolescents, we've all been through adolescence, and we
Yes.
know how difficult that is. It's even more difficult in this day and age for our young people. They're presented with so many different distractions from all areas. And it's hard sometimes for them when they're presented to always make the right choice. So it's our desire to give them those opportunities to make good decisions for themselves, and talk through it.
Yes.
And say, okay, when this situation is here, these are some choices. What are going to be the best choices for you to achieve the goal that you set for yourself? And then let them talk through that, because that's just reality.
Yes, it is.
That's what happens. We have to make choices every day about what we do. And the best way to do that is to use the experiences that we have, during breakfast, during lunch. If there's a social situation, we're small. So if there's a social situation, it's not like having a lot of students there to have distractions. So we're there to guide them, to stand back, and if they need the guidance, we can guide them in proper decision making.
And that is so helpful. It's really like having a life coach at the school, isn't it? And I know oftentimes I've wanted a life coach. And I know we talked a little bit before the show, and I was saying, I don't know the goals that I set for myself in high school. And I certainly didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. But, to have somebody sit down with you and help you outline your goals and maybe see your strengths and to begin to work toward those at an early age is just so encouraging, I think, for the student. And I think that is just a valuable thing that Hope Academy is offering to the students.
Well, thank you. And it's something that actually the whole state or the whole system is working with, is helping students look at career pathways, look at ways that they want to go in the future. And of course, that may change down the line.
Yeah.
But it's just good to start to focus in on your interest, positive interest. That's one of the things that we do during our Transformation 101 is to do a career pathway survey to see what their interests are. And the students participate in that survey of just interest, and the highest numbers that they have, that kind of tells them this is something that you're interested
Yes.
in. We also do a learning style survey. Some of our students are physical learners. They like to learn by using their bodies and moving. They're more athletic students.
Yes.
Or students who are more auditory learners or more visual learners. And if they realize that that's what type of learner they are, then they can use that information, share that information with teachers, and make sure that they have access to different ways. Maybe they need to listen to something with a headphone, and that might help them in addition to lecture.
Yes.
And just ways that they can take, like I said, ownership for their education and be a partner.
Yes, and
with us.
those things are just really helpful. I mean, they're helpful to me. I mean, I didn't know about that test until I was an adult, about what kind of learner are you. But then when you figure those things out, it makes some light bulbs go off for you, and it also helps you engage in learning in a new way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how involved are your parents at the school?
Our parents are very involved. As I stated earlier, our orientation session is the first time that parents and students come to the school, and that's the time that we go through the protocol of the day, the expectations. Mm-hmm. We go through the handbook and all the things, those things that just are expected to get through the day.
Yes.
To make sure that we have order at school, and that's true of course of any school. We're just very specific with mm-hmm. those things, and we want to make sure that parents and students understand the expectations. And that's also the time that we ask them formally to be partners with us and to let them know that we're going to make positive home visits.
Yes.
Sometimes we've made them actually before the orientation session to introduce ourselves and to say that this is who we are. this is something that we do. We make positive home visits, we make positive phone calls, so that we can have a relationship, and that you understand that we're in this together to help our young people excel
Yes.
in the future and be successful as they move on back to their zoned schools. And that's just something that we just keep saying and not just saying it, but doing it.
Yes.
So if there's ever a time that we need a parent to come and support us, if there's not a good decision being made, then we understand, that these are all of the options that we have tried, and we want to partner with you on making a better plan if that's necessary, because the goal is to get back to that zone school and be successful there, and not sort of fall into the same trap and have to come back.
That's
we
right.
We want them to stay and be successful.
And I know that must be very encouraging to the parent to have somebody that is on their side, and somebody that's showing them a way that they can help their child, and a way that they can engage in their child's life that will be beneficial for the child. I know when I was a parent, I loved when people would help me. If I had a concern and I found somebody that had an answer to that or would come alongside me, then that was so appreciated. And I know those parents appreciate you for that.
Right. Thank you.
I know that you are looking for community partners, and you have some already.
Yes, we do.
Can you tell us a little bit about who your partners are and what they do at the school?
Thank you. We have several partners. I don't know if I could name all of them now, but we do have several partners, and we did have a breakfast to welcome them and to just say thank you for partnering with us. And some of the things that we do, one of the big things is mentoring, is to have partners to come out and share their story with the students, because all of us have had challenges in our lives.
Yes.
And sometimes students don't realize that as you see a person who looks successful and you think that they have not had any ripples in their water, but they have. So that's one of the things that partners do, is they come out and mentor, as you have done, and be a support for our students. There are also donations of clothing. We wear uniforms at our school, and we have had donations for uniforms for students who might need any assistance with that. Incentives, different types of incentives, such as gift cards or things like that. That we can use to encourage parental support and student behavior. All of those things are wonderful, and just really being there and being on campus, and so that the students can see them and making those connections, because that's the biggest thing that can help that student, as we were speaking earlier, is to actually make that connection with someone that can listen to them and just kind of say, I understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
Yes.
And I know you do have speakers in.
Yes.
And you're looking for speakers.
Absolutely. We would love for anyone that has an encouraging, positive message to bring to us. We would love for them to contact us.
Yes.
And we can get you on the schedule so that they can come in and speak to our young people. We have an interventions class every day for our students. Of course, we stress academics, and we need to make sure that, like I said earlier, that they stay on track academically, but also with the social, emotional, and behavioral issues, we have our counselor and our school resource specialist that do a class every day that focuses on goals, setting goals,
Yes.
Just all kinds of problem-solving skills, conflict resolution, all of those things, career awareness, community development, service learning, where you're actually giving back to the community,
Yes.
and learning how to be a good citizen that way by giving back to your community. So we have that class every day for middle and high school, and that's a perfect time for guest speakers to come in and share during that time.
Yes. And you mentioned that the students wear a uniform.
Yes.
And tell me the purpose behind that.
The purpose behind the uniform is safety. Unfortunately, sometimes there are affiliations and different colors and different things like that, and we want to decrease that. We want to discourage that. So we wear the khaki and the black. That's what the kids call it, the khaki and the black. It's just plain khaki pants and a plain khaki shirt, plain black shoes. And that keeps us focused on, number one, safety, and focused on ourselves and our character.
Yes.
Not what designer name we have on our back or our shoes. Because of course, developmentally, middle schoolers and high schoolers are very keyed into that, and that's fine. That's a developmental thing, but for Hope students, we really need to focus on our decision making.
Yes.
And what is really important, and our character and our integrity is what is important, not so much what we have on. And it has to take them to a different level of understanding, and that is why we do it. First of all, it's safety, but second of all, we really want you to focus on your thinking skills, your integrity, your decision making. Do your actions match, what you're saying you believe in? And that's your integrity.
Yes.
Is that what's happening? And sometimes when we're so focused on things that really are not important, it's hard to keep our focus on what is important. So the uniform helps to keep everybody safe, and it helps to keep us in perspective of those things.
That's great. Now, one of the things that I was so excited to hear was that you have come up with a theme for this year.
Yes.
And your theme is Transformation of Hope.
That's right.
Of course, I love that because I'm a part of Troop Transformation, and anytime we hear somebody else in the community has adopted transformation, then we get excited about that because we feel it's transformations in the atmosphere.
Right.
Now, I know that you focus, when you meet with the students, you focus on that transformation of the student and not so much why they are there, but how they can correct what they need to correct, begin to have new goals, and go forth in the future. You want to talk a little bit more about that, and
Sure.
also about the transformation class that you started?
Sure. You're exactly right. Our focus is on the actual transformation. Yes, there was some type of a disciplinary action that resulted in the student being placed at Hope, but that is one caveat in time. That's one instance
Yes.
in time, and who hasn't made a mistake?
That's right.
Who hasn't made a mistake and just wish you could take it back?
Yes.
So that's one of the things that we say. We've all made mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
but what we don't want to do is keep making those mistakes. We want to learn from that, and failure leads to success. So once you understand that this is what we've done, this is the situation that happened in, that's over. That is over. So let's move from there and move forward into other decision making. So actually in Transformation 101, one of the first things that we do is we have a funeral service.
Oh, wow.
And we bury whatever that instance was that happened with the student
Yes.
that got them there. And it's just a physical way. We actually have a funeral program that has air on it, an error that whatever it is that they have done, and we don't look at it. We have them to write about it on the inside, and it's folded. And when they're finished writing about it, it's folded and it's put in a little box and it's buried, and we're done with that.
Yes.
And now our focus is on what are we going to do? What are our goals?
Yes.
That's the next thing as we start to talk about goals. What is it that you want to do? And how are we going to get there? What are our long-term goals? What are our short-term goals? What are the steps we need to do? So that past experience is there. It's gone.
Yes.
And we're focusing on goals. We're focusing on accepting whatever responsibilities that are in front of us today. Because today is what we have to deal with.
That's right.
This is the here and now. So let's focus on the responsibilities and everything that is right here, right now. This is an opportunity to have a fresh start. Everybody is here for you. Every teacher, every counselor, every staff member there is there to help that student excel because that's what we all want. We want productive citizens.
Yes.
We want productive citizens in our community, and this is the time that we can start to turn things around. So there's not a focus on the old stuff. We're just focusing on making good decisions, and we try to have opportunities where there are opportunities in front of us every day to make good decisions, whether you're going to go left or right, and just to make sure that they understand that it's not something that we're going to keep bringing back up over and over again. It's not going to come up anymore. It's just, let's move forward.
Yes.
And focus in on your goals. So that's how we start. And the intervention class that we have every day sort of piggybacks off of that, because they work on what are your dreams, what are your goals, if you could be anything.
Yes.
And bringing those guest speakers in to say, maybe I had difficulty when I was a teenager, but I got through it.
Yes.
And this is where I am now. Because sometimes we need to see that example to see that we can actually do that. So that's how we keep it going. We also have collaborative teams where our teachers are meeting individually with students and really making those connections with them and their parents to emphasize how much we are here for them, to help them in their transformation, because they just need to we need to transform, because we all have good things inside of us.
We do.
And sometimes we just need to be reminded.
That's right. And really you're teaching them life skills.
Yes.
On how to deal with mistakes that you make, how to plan and those kinds of things. And we talked a little bit before the show, and I really like the way that you are handling discipline also there, that you set standards for behavior and then consequences if those behaviors aren't met. And you want to just speak just a little bit about that?
Yes, I was just speaking about just what you said. It's just a lot of times students expect a lot of drama,
yeah.
so to speak, to go along with consequences. And we really don't need the drama. As I spoke, when we have orientation, that's when the expectations are laid out.
Yes.
And it's very clear. It's clear that you'll have a consequence. We also use teaching, because we have to teach skills, just like if a child has a problem in reading skills or math skills, we don't just tell them to read this
yes.
differently or better. We go back and we say, is it phonics or is it comprehension? What is the area that you're having problems with that's got us having a reading problem? So that's what we do with behavior and emotions. We go back and we look and we say, what is this area that we're having? Because you have a consequence, but we have to go back and teach how to problem solve, how to get through
yes.
that situation. And it's just methodical, and it's non-emotional, and sometimes
yes.
that's different for students, because some of them might be used to a little bit more emotion or drama, but that's okay.
Yes.
Because they just need to know that there is a consequence, and it's not going to be delivered in an emotional, a high drama state. It just is what it is.
Yes.
And once you come back and you've thought about it, then we're going to work on it some more until we get it to the point where it's an appropriate response to whatever it is, because that's what's going to keep them at their school when they get back.
Yes. Thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate you being on You Make the Difference, and I want you to know that you truly do. Thank you for watching You Make the Difference, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.